First time I've heard of this gentleman. His name is Talal Abu Ghazala.
Right.
And he's 81 years old. He's Jordanian. And I was just extremely impressed by his resume and his business acumen and accomplishments. He owns one of the largest professional services corporation, maybe the largest professional services corporation in accounting, HR. He has offices in 100 cities. All right. I want to put up on the screen the committees that he is the which one do we have first here?
We have
chairmanships.
Right. It's actually, we didn't have enough to fit on one screen, so we have to do two different screens here.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Is this the chairman or the memberships? What do we have?
This is the board memberships.
These are board memberships,
right, just like we have on our sheet in front of us.
It takes several.
This resume is probably one of the most impressive ones I've ever seen.
Yeah. He's chairman of the International Arab Society of Certified Accountants. He's a member of the advisory board of the NC Global Talent Competitiveness Index, member of the United Nations Social Impact Fund High Level Advisory Board, honorary membership from the Kuwaiti Association of Accountants and Auditors, special ambassador of the World Tourism Organization. The list, I mean, you can scroll through it if our control. You can just scroll through and you can see these are just some of the organizations that he's a member of. Then you go to the chairmanships,
right,
where he's chairman of organizations. Doc, go ahead.
I mean, the chair of the Talal Abu Ghazala University College for Applied. They named a business college after him. That's how smart he is in analyzing things. He's the honorary president of the Bosphorus Summit's Board of Trustees in Turkey. Chair of the Honorary Council of Consortium for Sustainable Urbanization in the U.S., co-chair of the UN Global Network on Promoting Digital Technologies for Sustainable Urbanization. It goes on and on and on. I counted 36 different organizations and committees that he's the chairman of related to business and to economics. So I would say that he probably qualifies as an expert on understanding business cycles, economic cycles. I would say if he was testifying in a court of law, that we would say he is a bona fide expert in these matters.
And his opinion would carry a lot of weight.
Yes.
So I came across an article that he published in 2018 in the Jordan Times, which is a newspaper I read. I try to go to it weekly. It's an English newspaper published in Amman, Jordan. And so he published an article December 26, 2018, Prepare Before Time Runs Out for the 2020 Global Economic Crisis.
Right.
Now there's an article that Americans didn't see because our news organizations don't report anything worth reading.
Now, so everyone understands in our viewing audience, the picture that you see there is of Talal Abu Ghazala. He is the gentleman that we've been talking about, that is the chair of all these different committees, has a business college named after him. He might know something. He just might know something about what's happening in the world economy.
I would pay attention when somebody of his caliber, knowledge and expertise and connections, when he writes an editorial in his home country of Jordan and says, prepare before time runs out for the 2020 global economic crisis.
Right.
Doc, I read this article last night. He said, let me read it. I'll just read a paragraph. He said, I have been sounding the alarm of a major economic crisis that may hit globally by the year 2020. Contrary to some expert analysis, I have good reason to believe that the new crisis is going to be much more devastating than the 2008 one, which was described by Ben Bernanke, the chair of the Federal Reserve at the time, as the worst financial crisis in global history. Most likely, and like the previous one, this crisis will start in the United States. So, folks, listen, here is one of the most prominent, well-known, well-respected businessmen in the Arab world who is telling the Arab business community who respect him. He's saying, I'm shouting. I mean, he's an accountant.
Right.
He owns an accounting firm that has 100 offices around the world.
Right.
And he's saying to the business leaders of the Arab world, a mega financial crisis is coming in 2020, and it's going to start in America.
Right. And you may be saying to yourself, well, wait a minute. If you're a viewer or listener, you have a little bit of financial acumen. You may be saying, wait, we're experiencing growth here in the U.S. We're experiencing, an expansion of the economy here in the U.S. How can there be a global financial crisis? Well, just like in 2008, that was pumped up with money and with promises that couldn't be delivered on. He goes on to say the U.S. has witnessed a 2.5% growth. This is an indication that there should be no crisis. But he says, I think this growth is due to increased consumer demand because of the liquidity of the U.S. government pumping into the market and is not representative of a real recovery. In other words, we're propping it up with nitroglycerin in the form of quantitative easing, printing money like it's going out of style. And so we're just pumping that money into the economy. This is a false recovery that's going on, is what he's saying.
That's right. He said the imminent economic crisis has been slowly but surely brewing for many years. And he says it appears that its arrival appears to be on schedule, 2020, just in time for the U.S. presidential election.
Right. Now think about that.
This is why I'm saying I'm not certain Donald Trump's reelection is certain. Because if the economy tanks in 2020, you will see the most massive vote for communism that you could ever imagine would happen in the United States of America. The communist, socialist Democrats will sweep into power if we're in an economic crisis before the election. Now, they may be able to hold it off and slide through the election and get President Trump elected, and then the crash comes.
Well, that would just mean that the next election in 2024 will be so far to the left, we can't even imagine it now.
That's right. Exactly. He said that this coming crisis is going to last years. He said the new economic crisis is expected to continue for years and will have a major impact on the West, causing stagflation and leading to bankruptcies.
He goes on to say, now listen to this, Rick, I predict at least 5 European countries will go bankrupt next year. Do you hear that? This economic expert is saying, I predict at least 5 European countries will go bankrupt next year, which will not mean that they close shop. They'll just be unable to provide services to their citizens.
Doc, he's a global accountant.
Right.
If you're going to listen to someone talk about accounting principles, I would listen to somebody at his level.
Right.
And he's saying, as you just said, he believes that 5 European nations are in such dire condition that they're going to go bankrupt.
And we already see the first fruits of that by negative interest rates on their bond yields that are popping up all over Europe right now, where they're actually paying people to take out mortgages. Think about that. And you say, oh, that's great. That's actually a very bad thing that's happening. That means that people don't have confidence in the economy anymore.
Okay, so let's go to the next article. This is also the Jordan Times. He published this on June 2nd of this year, 2019. The title, The 2020 Global Crisis and a Third World War.
Okay.
He said, once again, for some time, I have been sounding the alarm of an impending major economic crisis that may hit globally by the end of 2020. He said, nations around the globe, especially in Europe, have lost confidence in the United States' ability to lead in issues of international finance, trade, diplomacy, and war. These nations are quietly dismantling
Yes.
Listen, folks, listen to what this man is saying.